Welcome to Abode with After, the podcast where we step inside real homes and uncover the stories behind the renovations. I'm your host and interior designer Ashley, and I'm speaking with homeowners and industry experts about what it really takes to transform a house. Hi and welcome back to another episode of Abode with After. I am so excited to be joined by our guest today, Joanna. Nice to meet you on the podcast.
Nice to meet you.
Joanna is from JS Geddes, who have been in the business for 40 years.
Yes.
But I'll pass it over to you to tell us a bit more about that.
Yep, so our studio has been there for over 40 years, Ashley, and it was my dad that started the business way back when. And we've probably grown from being a small Ayrshire business to covering more multinational projects. We've gone everywhere from London to Spain, Portugal. We've really gone a bit around the globe. And what we specialise in is not just kitchens. I think that's what everyone knows us really well for. We specialise in now media walls, wine cabinetry, bespoke joinery work, utility rooms, boot rooms. I think that so many people want the whole house designed now, and there's so many key areas in the house that we just felt that taking on projects, it was a one-stop shop, if you like. So we deal with some of the most elite products in the industry. I think we're very well known for dealing with some of the most high-end, but with that comes real good reputation as well. So yeah, I think we're known locally, but we're making an impact now a bit more nationally, which is good.
And I think what you just touched on there, like it started as kitchens, but you're doing boot rooms and utilities and that, and it all comes back to making good storage for people and what works from them. And obviously if they can get it to match and flow throughout all the different spaces, then in the type of client that you're working with, they most likely want that and have, but they don't know how to get it from their space.
I think you're right. I think years ago what would always happen, and I'm talking way back when my dad started the company, storage probably wasn't that key, or the type of storage certainly wasn't that key. It was all about just how many boxes can you get into a kitchen, how many shoes can you get in your utility space, how many can you cram in. Whereas now, I think you're right, it's all about, well, is it pull-out storage? Are we doing pantry units? Are we having corner systems? And these things that make life more practical. I think aesthetics are a big drive at the moment, and people want to see things that are so aesthetically creative and different and somewhat on trend, but I think the practicality is the thing you've got to live with. So it's all very well in, us creating a lovely design or even yourself creating a lovely design for a space, but when it gets down to that nitty gritty, it's can we use that over time? Are things going to become annoying for someone? And that's within the design brief. You'll do that yourself as well. It's in that initial stage with the client. Is it practicality? Is it aesthetics? And I think most people want that great balance of the two.
No, I completely get that, and it kind of relates to like my own renovation just now, because I'm designing for my home. Me and my partner, we don't have kids yet. We're not thinking of it, but within the next 10 years it probably will become a thing. And we're trying to design not for that, but like I don't want to rip a kitchen out if we do that. So it's hard to design for the life that we don't yet have. And I'm sure loads of people are in that position, whether it's starting a family, family's grown up. There's different stages for everybody's life, and the kitchen is one thing, and all the storage that'll go with them through that, and it's not as easy to change as a paint.
So when I did my kitchen, so I moved into a house like 15 years ago, myself, didn't have my husband, didn't have my stepdaughter, and now I've got my husband, my stepdaughter and a dog. And when I designed that kitchen, I was probably very inexperienced in how to live in a house yourself. I'd moved straight out from my mum and dad's house, and I thought, what was important to me at that point was wine storage and, just something that looked quite nice. Whereas actually the designers in our studio helped me with that design, just to guide me at that point a bit more into future-proofing it. And I've still got that kitchen that I put in 15 years ago. It still looks great, but actually practically works for our family. But I think that's a real tricky point for clients, certainly to future-proof to a life that they don't yet have, or a life that might not be, might not be on the cards for them. I've had a few clients who have maybe over time, had to have wheelchairs in the property, something you wouldn't have thought about, but actually does the kitchen work for that? So we have to make sure that we, as designers, are future-proofing for really every eventuality in the home.
So you are touching there on like the designers and your showroom helping you there. So like who is involved in JS Geddes?
So my dad's still at the head of the helm. We can't get rid of him. It's been 40 years and he just won't go. So yeah, he's still head of the helm there. And then myself, I'm the head of the design team, and my designers Danny and Felicity both worked with us for a long time. Felicity, I think, just celebrated 20 odd years with us, which was huge, and she's still really young.
Want to spend the time, grow up,
absolutely,
grow with you.
Absolutely. But what I think's super different about us to other companies in design is the three of us will do one person's design. So I think for your big sheds and more well-known companies, what happens is you go in with your plan, you sit it in front of them, they tap away in the computer and design it while you're there. Yeah. Now, creativity can't be done under the essence of time. So if you have that restriction in there that get this design done in 2 hours, it's never going to be done. So the three of us will sit down, and it's great. We all sit around and have coffee. And
that's how you get the creative flow.
Oh yeah, we need the cakes for the creative flow. We're not creative without the cakes. So we sit around, we just have a coffee, a chat like twice a week, and really get to the crux of the design and the people as well, because we all can't meet the client. So one of us has, so we need time to explain them, their family. So the three of us will look at designs, but then we have a whole different team for installation, which is, I think, quite different again, and it's a real concern actually in the industry as a whole, the improvement industry, the installers to do these projects. So I think it's having really good tradespeople who are very well versed in basic knowledge of trade, but then who want to go that extra mile and do things more creative. So work with designers to push the boundaries on things like islands, or even when it is boot rooms, details
like
in
the
it.
lighting goes and actually making the effort to say, yes, we can do that, or nah, that's too much hassle.
Exactly. I think it's just pushing people to be the best that they can be. So I think our whole installation team, we've got an installation director whose job solely is responsible for your project liaising things, making sure that builders are speaking to our joiners. And then we've got our in-house joinery team. So I think that really makes a difference. I don't know that they always love the designers, if I've been honest. We just push that boundary constantly, but I think it makes for a really creative team to have everyone in-house.
And that is like the communication between everybody as well. Like, even though I'm an independent designer, I have specific contractors that I like to work with, and it's not just because they're really good at their job, it's because we actually really got on. Absolutely. And I know if there's a query, I can ask them about it, and they're not just going to shoot me down. Or back the same, if they're on site, they can phone me, and we have that relationship, and then that's passed on to the client, and they're like, they trust in your recommendation that you actually have a good basis relationship. And that's what it comes back down to all the time.
Well, I think it is as well, but it's also about just fun on the project. I think lots of clients have certainly our demographic of clients, they're spending a nice sum of money. This should be fun, this should be a really exciting project, and it should be that between the contractors, we're asking questions. Nothing should be contentious. We're all working towards that same goal at the end. We want a great outcome. We want the process to have been as seamless as it could be. But in the end up, you're doing this to improve your life. You're doing your boot room, you're doing your office, you're doing your bar to enhance your home life. So the process should be nice. It should be nice.
And I think, like, right, you're saying about you have the three of you sitting around, like, that's fun for you, but then what's it like for the clients once you give them the call, like, we're ready to present, they've left it in your hands, and then they actually get to come in? Because for me, when I get to that stage with a client, I'm like, whoa,
here's it. Like it. I know. Well, good
but
point. It's a good feeling.
It's a good milestone to get to. When you're like, bring them in, it's time to know you.
So we probably operate a wee bit differently in that, I suppose, when you're doing big projects, project, so you're doing a lot of different, you've got a lot of hats on at the one time. So we give them that deadline. You know, if I'm meeting someone, if I met them this morning, I'm saying to them, right, we're going to have your design ready by next, a week today.
I do like deadlines.
Yeah, we're all about a deadline. But I think we sort of do some teasers for clients, very similar to what you did when we were speaking on email. There was sort of mood boards and whatnot. So we send those to the clients just to kind of whet your appetite on what they're coming in to see. But it also gives the client an opportunity at that point to say, Joanna, you maybe haven't hit the nail on the head with that mood board, or that's exactly what I'm looking for, which then saves a bit of time in that initial design. But when they come in for that first meeting, I mean, I've been doing this now coming up in 20 years, and I still get the butterflies just when they sit down and we look at the screen. There's that sort of initial, I hope you like it.
But you're like, are you ready?
Yeah, are you ready? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we work with so many different clients, so you get so many different reactions. Some people will be so silent, and then when you've spoke them through it, it's that sort of wow factor. Some are in our studio, we call it yellow energy, like really excitable, really, and they'll just tell you they love it. And it's easy as a designer to get carried away with that as well. But again, I don't think that every time someone comes into the studio, it's going to be spot on first time. I think there is evolution of design as well. It's not going to be that that's the exact colour you're looking for, or that's the exact worktop that you're thinking. It's just a palette to get us going on it.
No, and that's like when having just a good relationship with the client as well. And what I say to my clients, like, see if you don't like something, please tell me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that we can sort this out just now. But like you're saying, if it's just, more specifically a colour or a worktop, that's okay to change. Getting the layout right is really important, and then talking them through as well, like, we put this here because
it's the integrity. See, once that integrity of design is in, everything else is interchangeable. If you want the same colour of kitchen as your top is, we'll make it that colour for you. That's fine. But I think it's the things that are the most practical items, so that how's the layout working for you. I think we want to tick that box very early on, and then move on to, I call it the fun stuff. Then move on to the kind of balloons and streamers. Let's get, absolutely, that's the fun part for me.
So we spoke about how JS Geddes is really top spec kitchen supply and the way you run your business. So let's talk about the kitchen supply there. So what kind of kitchens do you fit? And also, because you've been in the industry for like 20 years, how have you seen the style and the designs change through the years? I suppose?
Well, I use a lot of Botox, firstly, Ashley, for that. So I don't tell people it's 20 years old. We use the same person for Botox. So it's been a long 20 years. So I think styles have really evolved in that time. So 20 years ago, we did not have the same access to the internet that we do now. I feel really old saying that. We didn't have access to the internet. Dial-up tones, no one on the phone when I'm on the internet at home. So I think we weren't, as a consumer, you weren't bombarded. You didn't have that access to material differences. You really went into a shop and they showed you 5 finishes. They sketched out the design for you, and that was about it. So I think when I joined the company 20 years ago, I think design was really just starting to take off. So when I look back at the studio then, there was really big trends going on. So there was the red handleless high gloss kitchens, and if you had one of them, you were pretty trendy, you were on trend. There was the wood kitchens with black granite worktops. That was super popular. And it's funny because I can go into a client's house just now and I can roughly tell when they bought their kitchen. It was trend orientated. But I think with the evolution of trends now, I think that clients are less likely to follow trends. It's very seldom someone will come into the studio and say, what's in vogue? What are you doing most of? We don't get that. I think clients are more led to the internet, so they're exposed to so much, so they can pick and choose. You know, colours are really popular now. I'm a beige girl just by nature. I know I hate it. Everyone comes into my house and they're expecting this, you know, pop of colour, and it is beige. And I think it's because I don't have the time to do my own house. But clients are so adventurous now, so the trends have gone to that. You know, we do purples and greens and blues, and I think you have to love what you're getting. So I think don't follow a trend, and I know that if you were to really pinpoint it, the trend is beige and black. You know, that is the roll call of that's what you should be getting. That is the new grey. But I go back maybe 15 years ago, Magnolia was really popular. People had cream living rooms, you know. So it comes round.
I have a personal vendetta against natural hessian, because if you asked my dad what colour to paint the walls, that's what he did. So I would paint them all beige, but I wouldn't paint a natural hessian.
But that's because you're an interior designer, but I remember that colour as being a staple. I think there was just that one colour in B&Q, and that was all you could get. But I think with that evolution now, people are brave. Yeah. Clients are brave. So it's lovely as a designer, because I go home at times and I'll say to my husband, right, we're changing the kitchen, we're doing it green. You know, we're changing the kitchen, we're doing it orange. Now, I never actually do it, but I get so inspired by other people's confidence to do it. And I know it works, but it's making that leap and that bold move of faith to say, yeah, I'm going to commit to having that colour in my kitchen. Yeah. But that's when you start talking about materials and things. I think lots of clients will do painted furniture now, because painted furniture can be repainted. Yeah. So in 5 years' time, if you think, why did Joanna coax me into getting a plum coloured kitchen? That's okay, you can paint it beige. So to answer your other question, I think, we are well known for being very luxury, very high end, but I also think that's a local common misconception, that we're unaffordable. So I think we were having a bit of a giggle about it in the studio today, and we were saying, you know, what do clients think, or what does the outside world think of when they think of Geddes Kitchens? Yeah, and I think they think expensive.
You're bringing the questions.
Am I bringing? Sorry, are these the questions? sorry. You just sit and drink your water, have a cake. But no, I think people would think Geddes Kitchens, they're quite expensive. And I think it's, yes, we are expensive, but see, wherever you get a kitchen now, you have to invest money to it. So it's whether you buy a local shed, which are the kind of mass market producers, or whether you buy it an independent kitchen retailer, you have to invest money in it. It isn't going to be inexpensive. And I always say to our clients, shop around. You know, I'm quite happy if you've done the sheds first, because you'll have a real good gauge of how expensive kitchens actually are. But I think where clients are thinking that we're expensive is because we introduce materials that maybe the sheds wouldn't look at doing. So we're introducing more bespoke concepts. We don't need to do that. So on a like for like basis, I think people would be very surprised at how competitive we are. We do different ranges. So the showstopper is Pog and Paul Kitchens. Right, okay. So Pog and Paul are the oldest German provider of kitchens, and I love to name drop. They have got kitchens in Buckingham Palace that I know. So as soon as people say that, you know, I say that to clients in the studio, and they say, oh no, we can't afford a Buckingham Palace kitchen.
You should have worn a crown.
I know, exactly. You should have your crown on and be sitting on your regal seat. So they design for the most elite properties in the world. So the Porsche Tower in Miami has Pog and Paul Kitchens. Ronaldo has a Pog and Paul kitchen. The Beckhams, you know, Gordon Ramsay, these people have Pog and Paul. So it's a very big brand. So then we moved to our Callerton collection. So now we're seeing a big trend coming through for shaker style kitchens again.
I'm seeing that.
In frame style kitchens. Just that homely, warm, comfortable feel in the home. So Callerton specialise in those fantastically. So they are an English-led manufacturer. English are actually, forgive me for saying this, because when this podcast is getting recorded, the Scotland game hasn't been on yet. But
just to clarify,
but the English are the best at shaker kitchens. I don't like to say that they're good at much.
Just
traditional,
history.
yeah. I think Germans hate shakers. They hate
Germans
curves.
very modern, sleek,
very
handlers.
modern, absolutely. So Germanic in its nature, whereas English style kitchens do have that warmth to them. They're a bit more detailed. You could imagine them in lots of different styles of houses. But that range of kitchens that we do is the one I'm saying can be painted. So any colour that you want and any sort of bespoke door you want. So they'll source things that maybe other providers won't source. Then we have our contract collection. Now, our contract collection's been superb for architects, builders, people who would generally shop at a Shed, a Howdens, a Wren. They'll come to us now because they're getting the Geddes brand behind it. You know, it's a well-known local brand, but they're being in a competitive cost with a Howdens and a Wren. So those are our main crux products. But then when you start getting into worktops, appliances, you know, we'd be here all day, and I've been told this is a limit on how much I have to speak for this podcast, so I can't tell you all of them.
I do get that, because obviously I do have like kitchen design experience previously,
of course you do.
And like materials are coming, people care more about what they're installing because they want to get the most out of their kitchen, but then people are now like I remember when I started at my previous job when I came out of uni and they had the boiling water tap and I was like,
groundbreaking.
What is this?
Absolutely groundbreaking.
I was like, when I have a dream home, I'm going to have one of these.
Do you have one in your
Not
new
yet,
house? Oh, for
but
goodness sake.
my kitchen's phase two.
Phase two.
So it's on the list. It's
list.
budgeted for. But like before that, you know, it wasn't a thing. No. But there's all these gadgets and, you know, right now it's coffee cupboards with the slide-in doors.
Love
that
a
people
butler's
want.
pantry,
So
appliance garages.
People want things as well just to say we've got that.
Totally.
Like
that was what the island was. So
Yeah.
you'll remember even when you were doing kitchen design years ago, people would come in with the smallest faces and say, I want an island. And you just thought, oh, I don't know how we're going to manage this. You know, we're going to have to do real design manipulation to get this in. But it was just to say we have an island. But I think that's where good designers really need to get involved and tell people that isn't right for the space.
But also saying, by the way, you can't open your cupboards at either side if you have that.
Exactly. So it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But the appliance garages, I mean, I would say now, nearly 10 out of 10 people come in asking for an appliance garage because we didn't have things like air fryers.
I know.
We didn't, you know, so those things are bulky.
How do you get rid of the worktop and put it on the, especially if somebody designing, say, an older property with high ceilings and they can get away with putting appliances up on the wall.
That's it.
And then you clear their worktop space because the older properties seem to be narrower but taller. So that's when it comes down to a good designer using the space.
Exactly. But also I was listening to one of your other podcasts and it was a bit, I did my research.
We have a fan.
I know, we have a fan. I think I clicked the like and subscribe. And you were talking about how bespoke cabinetry and things, you know, it seems to work better because a lot of people, certainly in older properties, sizes are obscure. So if you work on the basis of normal 600 cabinets, what you're going to get is big ugly fillers in the property.
And the gap at the end.
And the gap at the ends. And you think, but when you work more with designers, yourself, myself, you're going to get something that looks purpose-built, looks in the architecture of the house. It doesn't look like it's standing proud and fighting against everything. And that's where the look of expense comes in.
Yeah.
You know, something looks luxury.
Like they care about the space. Look how perfect it fits in there.
Exactly.
Rather than like going back to, I kind of remember what I spoke about in that podcast, but it just turns into clutter if it's like mismatched storage ideas instead of built in.
Absolutely. And I'm not a fan of a filler. There's a big ugly filler at the end. I do everything I can to try and avoid big fillers. So as my installation team will tell you, they need to kind of wedge things in.
Wine rack.
Yeah, oh God, no, I don't like 100 wine rack, I'll be honest, no. But I think it's important though that I think when you are in the more bespoke properties, to make the kitchen look bespoke, and that isn't an expensive thing to do. I think people do think it is. It looks expensive, but it's not. It's just a detail, and that's when you're working with an interior designer like yourself or a kitchen designer, I think that's where we can offer the expertise to say, spend an extra £50, £100, because that's negligible in the grand scheme of a project. And then the outcome, the look can be so much.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that when you were speaking about the architects and certain types of properties, because let's say a home's getting built and it's, you know, cost this much.
Yeah.
adding a certain type of kitchen in there is going to increase the value of the property.
Yeah.
And it, let's say like they go to sell it in time, it will probably say, listen, it comes with a JS Geddes or you know, the brand, I forget what it was, the
Pog and Paul.
Installed with a Pog and Paul kitchen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, those things do it, and it's amazing. We sort of look on Rightmove, maybe I would say like bi-weekly, because a lot of properties will say on them, kitchens by JS Geddes Kitchen. And I think it's because people associate that with, or the connotations of it are luxury, it's well finished, it's well made, it's going to be more expensive.
They don't need to rip it out when they go in because it'll probably look still brand new.
Exactly. And I think it's really difficult though, because just kind of diverting on your question there, but I think for clients who are doing renovations, we always ask clients, are you doing this for yourself, or is this a 5-year project, or is it a 10-year project that in 10 years' time you're up and you're out, you're away? Because I think the kitchen that you put in, the bathroom that you put in, the boot room, the media, if you're doing it for yourself, go wild, do what you want. If you're doing this with the option of selling this in a few years' time, you need to be more respectful that that's not going to appeal to a mass market for buyers. You don't want to cut people off coming in the door. So it's getting that happy medium of something that you really like, but also that's going to have sellability at the end of it. But as you're quite rightly saying, it's so adding value. I've never put a kitchen in that the estate agents told me after it, you know, that really reduced the value.
Yeah,
I don't think you'll ever get back what you put in, because whether you spend, you know, £10,000 on a kitchen or £100,000 on a kitchen, you won't get that.
It's only with the value as a person buying it.
Exactly that. And it's all down to the market at the time. How buoyant is the market? How many buyers want that house? But I think if you enhance it with the right brands in your property, I'll tell you a funny story if you've still got time to listen to a story. My dad, I've got lots of dad anecdotes. Yeah. So years ago, he was away to buy a property. And he went in and he had a look at it. Was with the builder was there. He was talking away to him, and my dad obviously was opening every cupboard door. You know, shuggling. There's a shuggle test in our industry. Everyone likes to shuggle things, and he opened every door, looked at it, and then he spoke to the builder, and he said to them, you know, I have no experience of anything else other than kitchens, but the kitchen that's in this property is really poor quality. It won't stand the test of time. And I think the builder, bless him, you know, thought, what have I invited here? But my dad said, I don't have any experience of anything else, but I've got to assume if you've put a really low quality kitchen in, I've got to assume all your other finishings that I can't see are pretty low quality as well. And I always remembered that because I thought, why would you, you know, put something in that's super expensive and then, you know, sort of scrimp on everything else? You want to be at a comfortable level throughout your property. Don't break the bank, but also push for what you can afford, because I think if you get good quality, it stands the test of time. You know, you don't want to be redoing something, especially a kitchen, especially a bathroom, especially boot rooms. You're not ripping that out a year down the line. You know, it's an investment. It's for, you know, the foreseeable. Yeah. And well, that's what my husband says anyway. Every time I try to flirt the idea of a new kitchen, it's longevity.
And for the right people, if they are buying or selling and they're coming in and they will think that. It's actually just opened my eyes to, like, if you've spent that much on the kitchen, you'll think that. Yeah. Another place. I don't think I've actually told you this. So my dad's partner got a kitchen from you last year.
I don't want to know. Tell me.
And I think she shopped about as well when she came to use because she just liked the service. And my dad, the main man himself, was out to do the final measurement. Royalty.
I know, oh bless. I think that's it. I think people are scared to come in our door. I think you sort of are coming into a world, and I think one of the comments that we get when people come in the showroom is, this looks expensive. Yeah. I'm good. I hope it does. I don't want to buy something that looks cheap. Yeah. Do you?
No,
exactly. So you want, but that's down to design techniques. That's down to really clever designers. I mean, both of our designers, Felicity has won so many awards, unbelievably, but awards like kitchens under 25,000, kitchens over 25,000. Danny, my colleague, has been national recognition on it. So these people know what they're doing. You know, they can manipulate spaces to get them working within a budget for you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I think when everyone comes in, then like you, they want the coker tap. So yeah, that is going to be more expensive. Yeah. You know, they want the butler's pantry. So these are things that add costs on and make us look more expensive. But actually, these are the things
that's
scrimping on.
Again where you're like being able to say to them, yes, we can actually do that for you, rather than here's our own brand.
Totally.
You know, they want the cooker, so
that's it.
And I get it.
I think when you go, and this is not me bashing sheds, because I think they service the industry fantastically. They are the main portion of the industry. I think independents make up just under half of the industry as a collective. So these big players are big, but I think they're that first stop for clients. There's very few clients that will come into my studio that haven't been into a range studio or a Howden studio. It's a great place to start. It's a great place to benchmark and see the difference. Because I think when you come into us, clients get attention. They get conversation. We want to know about you. And I think, do you know what? See, if I'm spending money, I want someone to care. I want you to care. I mean, I care too much. I go to sleep thinking about kitchens and taps. But I think you want someone to care. You want someone to be as invested in your project as you are.
And I get that, because people come to me, if I'm doing a kitchen design, they'll come to me to do the kitchen, and whether like sometimes we do orders from the sheds or other areas depending on your budget, but it's more so I'm going into them and saying, look, I've worked this out with the client.
Exactly.
Can you put it on your system? Because I know you can just like click and drop.
Yeah.
Whereas
I wish it was that easy, actually.
You know, things are a bit more manual. Whereas on the softwares, it's like type in the code, you're 60 and then there's your base unit.
I know.
And to get it priced up that way, but it is very like, right, so when are you wanting to buy this in? And I'm like, well, let's so getting the service, like you said, taking the time. I think you can tell when a kitchen's been designed because it has something quirky.
Yep.
Usually you can see it, and like going back to like my dad's partner, she's got a curved it's not an island, it's like a peninsula.
Okay.
So you can look out
Can't wait after the podcast for you to tell me our details.
So she can like look out the garden without, so she's not facing the wall.
Nice.
So it's like a wee simple thing like that. She didn't get a dishwasher though.
Actually, I don't have a dishwasher. People are horrified. People are horrified when I say I've not got. I mean, I sound now like, you know, I'm real in squalor in this kitchen. I'm not. My kitchen's absolutely fabulous, but I don't have a dishwasher. I just don't.
I think it's better.
No, I just feel like my husband has to do something around the house, so I give him the dishes to do. That's his task. Do the dishes, yeah. And do you know, at any time we're in company with people, they'll always say, do you know, we don't have a dishwasher? You know, it's a real bone of contention in our house that I won't be putting one in. I had to budget. I wanted my coker tap at the time, so it was the boiling water tap took priority over the dishwasher.
That's so funny. My dad said to his partner, he said that's what he said to me. I tried to tell her about a dishwasher, but she didn't want one.
It's amazing. I mean, things that you think people will really go for, there's such a shift at times.
Well, that's something you'd sit down and you would just assume, so where do you want a dishwasher? And then be like, I don't want one.
Although, I have a lot of clients that have two dishwashers now. So they store their crockery in one dishwasher, take it out, then put it in the other one. It's wild. But things change, you know, and the way you live, it has to be independent to you. So if your dad's partner didn't want one, don't get one.
Exactly.
Why waste your money on it? You know, get things that are going to be value for money for you. And that's what I'm really keen on, value for money. Don't buy things. I've got a client just now, and she said, all my friends have a wine cooler. And I said, do you want one?
Yeah.
And she said, well, we don't drink wine and I don't really like the look of it, but I feel we probably should get one. Why?
Exactly.
Why should you? You know, there's, you know, I think it's about, as we spoke earlier, just bravery in design and brave to be a wee bit different, brave to, you know, value your money.
Yeah.
What you're spending money on. Don't spend £500 on a wine cooler and then the electrical work to connect it. You know, put another cabinet in or something else.
No, I get that. 'Cause we're not really big drinkers, so I wouldn't get a wine cooler. I'd fill it with like diluting juice.
Yeah, I need like, see if I get a gin a gin cabinet. That's all I need, just a gin cabinet, and I'm
very specific.
Very specific.
But that is like tailoring it to the client and their needs. And with the kitchen these days, I get it, it's overwhelming in terms of you can literally have anything.
Yep.
But being able to narrow it down to, right, there's you've got kids these ages, you've got a dog. Like, we were thinking of putting in, because I've seen it on Pinterest, you know, like the dog bowls.
I've got some in my studio.
And they're like built in.
Yeah,
but I'm like, but my dog, like sometimes she turns her nose up and he walks away and I'm like, I don't even know if it would work for
They're
us.
lovely. They're a good idea. They're a great idea, and they're so quirky for the studio, and people love it. But my dog doesn't. He just paws at it, and the water goes everywhere. And so you have to have a well-trained dog for that.
I like the idea of it, and I kind of have been thinking about putting it in, but then I look at my dog and
think you're crazy.
She's probably like, I don't want it.
No, you know? She doesn't want like a bespoke fitted dog bowl. Prioritise your money elsewhere. But that's a good idea, though. Like you said, though, it's about really getting to know people, you know, getting to know that clients, many kids they've got, and what's important. And one thing that clients always say when they come into the studio, the very first time, someone will open the door and come in and they'll say, we're just looking, we're just getting our ideas together, which is totally fine. But at some point you have to stop looking at studios, because you will never walk into a studio and love everything about one kitchen and it work for your space. It's almost impossible. So I think, take ideas. Get your Pinterest board. Get a Pinterest board of kitchens you hate. That is so helpful.
I also say, when you've got your Pinterest board, start then taking things back out of it.
Absolutely.
Because then you'll start to narrow it down.
Absolutely.
And I've done that, like, with my own house. You know, we collect everything and then I'm like, right, well, I know I prefer that over that, so that can go. And then you get it down to like 3. And then not only just saying, right, well, I really like this, it's like, but what do you like about it? Maybe you only like the rug that they've used and it's nothing to do with the kitchen. Do you know what I mean?
Well, some people show me their Pinterest board and I see it and they say, I don't actually know why I saved that. Because I'll say, what do you like about that? I'm not sure. You know, so I think even though for designers, it's so overwhelming as a client to come and buy a kitchen, to buy anything for your property, I think can be overwhelming. See, as designers, it is so overwhelming to buy a kitchen because I have no idea what I like. You know, there's so many different styles. It bogs me down. So I think I told you I'm doing my kitchen at the end of this year, but my designers are going to talk me through the process because I'm bombarded constantly. I go into everyone's house and I think, I love that, I love that. So they're going to take me through our process to make it easier for me as well.
That's like, I suppose, just not so much handing it over, but then you get to experience being the customer, which would probably be quite nice.
I'm a wee bit lazy and can't be bothered doing it at night. I feel like I do kitchens all day, so I feel like we could try and shoehorn that into a day's work just now.
Kitchens are hard though. See, like the house we just moved into, so that has an open kitchen utility.
Okay.
And then a closed off dining room, and I want to open up kitchen, dining, close off utility.
You're doing structural work.
Which is fine, it's pretty straightforward, but then where I want to put my units, so I have a nice run, it means that our dilemma right now is I'm like, but then if I want to put a washer on, I have to walk all the way around. And I was like, can I build a hatch or something here? And then
hatches are back in.
Chris is like, just stop being lazy, you know. And I'm like, no, but friction. I know how I live, and I'm if there's friction in my way, I won't do it.
No,
like my dressing room doesn't have doors on it.
Okay,
because I won't hang it up. Or I'll chuck it in.
So it's forcing you to hang up.
Yeah, it forces me. So now I'm like, but this washing machine being, so far away.
You're not going to do your washing.
And it sounds stupid, but it's going through my head, like, how do I make this as easy as possible? Yeah. And it will actually, I know that if I don't do something like that and it gets installed, I'll be like, I'll regret it. And it's wee ticks of how do I actually live, right? I know I'm a friction person. If there's tiny thing in my way, I won't do it, so.
Well, you have to. I think it's, and again, that's where I'm saying it's difficult for a designer because you need that process. But we delve so deep into clients' lives. I think they do come to us, and a lot of clients say, "Wow, no one's ever asked us that before." Yeah. So they have to think about things. But that's what we want because I don't know how you live. You don't know how I live. So we really need to deep delve to get to a point where this design will work for you. Now, I can't foolproof everything. We need that contribution from the client. We need you to tell us things that you like and you don't like. But as designers, you've got two things. You've got space planners and then you've got designers. So I think space planners are putting as many boxes into the room as possible. Designers are giving you something that's aspirational. Yeah. So I think we like to say that we're designers because when we finish the kitchen, it's something that your friends will walk in and say, wow, where did you get your kitchen from? Yeah. That's what we want. That's what everyone wants. You want people to have the wow factor. You want to say, look where we've invested our money. Wow.
And going through that as well, like from a design perspective, like when you've done a kitchen up, letting the client, I always pass it back to the client and say, think about what you're actually going to put in each of these cupboards. Yep. A big thing is not putting enough drawers in and then they're left with like too many cupboards. I know you get better inside cupboard storage now to mimic that, but actually saying, like, just have a think about it because it's the way you're going to, you know, maybe you like cooking, maybe you don't. So.
But I think as well, and this is Kirsty Allsop that has done this to the masses. Every time Kirsty Allsop from like Love It or List It or Location is on, she'll say, get drawers everywhere, you know, that's knock them all down and get drawers. But I think what we like to do is be realistic with clients. Drawers cost double the price of a cabinet. Now, yes, I would fill my room of drawers, but I think clients then need educated on, do you want to invest X amount more on the drawer? How valuable is it for you? Then maybe just put your drawers in the place that are really, don't put it in to a unit where you're not too sure what's going to be in that unit. Because I still say to clients, you do always need cupboards. Yes, that drawer's accessible. See your vase, your tall vase. Where's that going? I got
big bag of dog food that doesn't fit
anywhere. Yeah, because then you need to move your shelves and things. So in a drawer,
I'm talking from experience.
Exactly. Well, if you'd come to me, Ashley, I'll like show you. But things like someone had got me this magnum of champagne. Right. I've never. I'm scared to open it because I think I can't finish that. But it's been in my cupboard and it's lying on its side because all my island is drawers. So you need cupboard space where things can fit in. So I always blame Kirsty for this, you know, pushing the masses to drawers where cupboards are still fit a purpose in certain units in your kitchen.
So I'm going to touch here on a bit of trends again because we're spoken about drawers now. What do you think about the handles and handleless and what's kind of now? Because I feel that handleless had 2020 really big.
It had you in a chokehold.
I know.
It really did.
No handles in the kitchen.
No, it was wet. So a handleless kitchen was first developed at the beginning of the 1900s.
Was it?
How wild is that? So it was with one of the first integrated kitchens. So it's not a new thing, but it was super popular maybe for about the last 5 years. I think it still holds a place because some clients really want their kitchen to look like furniture, but it can verge on to looking like bedroom furniture. There is that bridge. Handles for about 5 years I really wasn't that keen on them. The plethora of handles available now is wild.
And different finishes on them.
Amazing. And now they look, I always think it's like a piece of jewellery on your hand. You know, a bare hand's nice, but a big diamond rock is fabulous. That's what it's like. It's like a diamond on the furniture. And I think it also gives you flexibility. So if in 5 years' time you think, I'm sort of over the antique brass, right, let's take that out. Let's change your lights. Let's go for matte black or stainless steel or coppers, nickels. You've got so much more option. I think with handleless, you've sort of forced yourself into a trend there that maybe doesn't have as quite longevity visually as it will. So I think we see the big shift to handles again.
I really like handles.
But handles are wild because we deal with lots of handle brands. I mean, you'll know Händel and Händel and Armick and Martin. The amount of money on handles.
I know.
It's wild. There's one I really loved the other day to put into the studio. And my colleague Felicity, she sort of brings me back down to earth. And she said, well, that one's £130 for that handle. And I had something like 30 handles needed. So there's a
many drawers.
So there was too many drawers. It was these drawers. So I think, it's been mindful. But if I had known that at the time, would I maybe have down-spec'd the cabinet finish? Maybe to get that handle. So knowledge is power.
And a handle can spruce up. You know, the contract kitchen as opposed
to,
and it is a really nice idea. I really like a knob just now, which I think Not handle.
We'll go over that.
I'm really surprised at myself for. I feel like, I don't know, it's like my frontal lobe times three's developed, and I'm like, I really like that.
I like that. But a mix as well. See if you can get a nice bar handle that matches into the knob, and then it's quite zonal. So if you did have a few cabinets that are more facing a living space, put that knob on it, and then it looks more like furniture rather than, I love a back plate, so see any handle that's got a plate on the back of it, I just think it looks really regal. There's something about it that just looks luxury. And again, the sheds will do this, but it'll filter to them eventually. That's where independents have really the drive to be edgy, because see if you show me today a handle you like in a magazine, well, I'll get it tomorrow. Whereas when you're in these sheds, they have certain ranges and they can't deviate from that.
Exactly. And I find that like some reason why some clients actually come to me is because they've been to the shed and they're like, but I just wasn't
blown away
on what they had to offer. So if they come to me, like whether it's for a kitchen or a bathroom or any type of room, we do the design and then we think, well, where can we get this from? And it might be you go there for that, but then you order the handles from an online supplier and it mixes, and then all you need to say to the contractor is like, can you fit this together? Handles. And if he says yes, I'm like, we're all good.
You're skipping,
like,
you're ready
but
to
we're
go.
not tied to specifics, and you've been, even though you're a supplier, you're independent, so I'm sure there's a lot of just like through like industry reps and your relationships that come to you, like we've got this coming next year, and you get to go to things and learn about the product, because again then clients will ask you about it and you're actually able to say, even if like I would say I don't actually know, but I know the person who runs this stuff, so I'm just going to ask them.
But product development's so important. So all of our staff are going to these big exhibitions, whether we're going to like Milan or Germany or Cologne, well, the same thing, but different places in the country. Geography's not my strong suit, but I just go on the plane and we turn up. But yeah, when we go to these places, it's so inspiring. See these materials. Whereas again, that's where the independent market just sits. People say, what's different about you? Well, I can get things that the shed can't. Clients, again, we'll just go back to Pinterest and Instagram. A lot of my algorithm certainly has kitchens all the time. I can't get away from a kitchen algorithm. And on that, a lot of them are American. There's a lot of American furniture, super size, massive kitchens. And clients will say, I love this. Where do I get that? We can't get that in the UK. But I work with the product development at Callerton or Poggenpoll, and we'll say, right, how can we make this work for you? Can we get a door that's really like that? And the answer generally, 99% of the time, is yes.
But they also like you saying, let me look into it, rather than, no, we just don't do that.
Yeah. So, well, I think I am always at let me look into it.
But imagine you did get to do it for them. That's that.
Absolutely.
Like, let's try. Imagine we get to fix this. Let's try it.
Absolutely. And I think that's where you need, as a designer, you need to be challenged, and creativity needs to flow.
Yeah, I do get
when
that.
someone asks you for something different, I get on that train and I start getting excited for it. I'm going with it. So I think, as I said at the beginning, design's fun. Doing this in your house is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be an enjoyable experience. So I think getting that relationship with someone is super important. So clients are going to employ you and work, go to contract with you for that reason, someone that they get the same energy. I know someone that you have worked with and it was all about the energy, good energy, and brought ideas to the table. But that's what the independent market are. I'm not sitting behind a computer. They can't get me sitting behind my computer. I'm up and about and I'm
You're
moving.
doing podcast.
I'm doing That's what they said. Where you going on a Friday afternoon? Podcast. They can't get me behind the computer because I'm up. I'm interested in things. Although I've been doing it for 20 years, it still excites me. I'm interested in it. And I think that then transfers to your client. Why would you work with a designer who wasn't giving you a great vibe, giving you, interest, excitement?
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Right now I'm working with a client down in Manchester, and that's my furthest job, and I've actually been down to see her in the fighting, and that's really interesting to me because we're actually working with like local suppliers down there. But when I went down, we made a point of going out and meeting these people nearby, so that's challenging me to be like, right, you need to widen your network here, but it's interesting because I'm like going into these places like, hi, I'm from East Scotland, but I'm down here. But then it's a good feeling because you're like, we're progressing here and we're going into these new suppliers and being able to, and it's for ease for the client. Obviously, sourcing locally means that, you know, anything that happens, we can get it sorted locally. So,
absolutely.
But it's a step up, really. It's something different.
Yeah, I think, I mean, logistics is a big thing in business. So clients will often come to us and say, you know, how far do you travel?
Yeah.
And I think...
How far do you travel?
Well, very far. I think when we did their job in Portugal, it was probably the quickest fit that we've ever done. Those fitters did that fit quick to get sitting on that beach for the extra few days. But that was for clients that had already got kitchens from us in the UK and loved that. But all over Scotland, really, we've got some coming up in the Isle of Mull.
Amazing.
I know, it's the site visits though, it's a long journey. We've done, you know, as far as sort of like Aberdeen, Peterhead, down like Carlisle to London. But the logistics of projects like that are, you know, there's a lot more.
You need to make sure you have everything on the van.
If that screw is not on the van, you know, it's hard work, but it's exciting because I think, again, as designers, you take inspiration, and I think Scottish interior design is very different from central London, even central Manchester as well. I think we've all got a niche look and feel, and I'm working on a project at the moment with a client I've worked with before, and his aspiration for the kitchen is Asian infused with Scottish flair.
I love when there's a theme.
What? I love a theme. I mean, I'm like a theme queen. I love a theme. So this it's doing something Asian inspired, but bringing in the tartan, you know, with that gold heritage of the handles. Wow.
Yeah.
And it inspires you, and it's something that's super exciting.
Yeah.
Whereas we're not doing any tartan when we're in London.
Yeah.
You know, they're not wanting the tartan. So I think each area has its niche and its look and how the feel should be. So I think that's so exciting. Yeah. Really exciting.
And I relate to that as well. Like, I'm quite proud of being an Ayrshire designer and heritage here. Yeah. And being brought up in Irvine, I still live here, so I'm by the coast. That's where I walk the dogs and things. And even like my logo, it has a blue wave in it because that's what makes me different. Yeah. And my house is really blue. Chris is like, what colour are you painting that blue?
So blue and beige. Blue and beige.
But like, you're taking inspiration from where you're from, and every client will have their own thing that they, if you could pull that in for them, they'd be like, wow, like that really means a lot to me that you've done it. But again, that's from our own experiences. We know what we want to bring into our own spaces and what inspires us. So we're just helping them tap into that. Definitely. For them as well.
But heritage for you, I think, Ashley, it's so important. And it is for me too, heritage of the business. Yeah. Because although we're talking about this multinational and going here, there and everywhere, actually our bread and butter is still Ayrshire in Glasgow. That's where we're working most of the time. And I think shopping local and sourcing local is so important. It's important for our local economy, but it's important for us to be on the map. That, as you said, Ayrshire, when you think of Ayrshire, you think of like Arran, you know, looking out to the view of Arran.
Do you need a ferry to get there?
I know. Well, I've actually got a job coming up in Arran. I'm a bit worried about the ferry situation, but hey-ho. But I think heritage is important, and actually a lot of my clients, I've got some clients from overseas just now who are building in Scotland, and they want that heritage. They want to feel that they're dealing with a local provider, that there's someone at the end of the phone. You know, it's not a press one, press two. It's someone who is in touch with their project and getting a feel for that heritage round about them. Blue, green, although maybe that's why grey was so popular. The outlook is grey a lot of the time, so grey was really trending in Scotland for a while.
So how tapping into that, because I do think it's important, and probably how we connected is obviously both being just 10 minutes up the road from each other. So you being an Ayrshire business and being a female kind of running it, how does that work for you?
So I think females in business is a whole other podcast. I think, especially females in our industry. I think when I go to industry conferences, there is still a bit of, and now my dad will kill me, but there is still this kind of 60 plus men, you know, with this ideology of how the industry should be run, where actually I like to think that our business has that real good foundation of people who have been there for a long time. So like our installation director's been there like over 30 years. So you've got that real solid structure. But I think then with the I don't want to say young and old here because I could get really into trouble for this, but I like to think of myself
generation.
like to think of myself as young as well. I think I'm just totally millennial, but whether I am or not. But I think that foundation of real good knowledge, but having, you know, young energy in there. I think females in business in our industry can be really overlooked as well, because in essence, a lot of the time we're dealing with trades. So we're dealing with men, we're dealing with builders on site. And I think we never want there to be a case where they think the designers are really difficult. We're just really aspirational for the client. We're pushing them to be the best that they can be. But I think, as you sort of touched on earlier, we have a team that we work with. So everyone knows strengths and weaknesses of each other, and I think we are super respectful of each other. I could not design the things that I designed if I didn't have installers there that I know are capable of producing that. So I think a female in business is, I like to champion it, because I think there's not enough females in business. It's really important. But I think as an industry, we're maybe slowly creeping towards more of a rise. I think actually in our last industry awards, there was the new women in industry, and I really loved that, because I thought, you know, having young women in business is fabulous. That's what we want. It's aspirational.
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. And like, for me, the contractors or architects that I work with, I think like I learn so much from them as well. But I probably at the start tried to maybe act like I knew more than I did. Now I just, you know, I phone and ask this stupid question.
Totally.
Because they'll just tell me.
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
But then I learn something, so. Yeah. And they get to learn things from me as well, and ideas, and it bounces both ways. When you get the right fit.
That's important. And I think years ago when I first started, I always felt like I was in the shadow of my mum and dad, probably. I think people always thought, oh, she's there because of her dad. Yeah. And in essence, originally, yeah, absolutely. I came into the business because it was a family business. But I think over those 20 years, I've worked super hard to have my own name in the business, and for clients to know me and not just know Geddes Kitchens, you know, they know Joanna behind the brand. And I think that's important. And I've sort of fought against that ideology almost, that it's just my dad's company, you know. I've made changes where appropriate, but used that real foundation in business as well. And I'm not scared. Years ago, I was scared to ask the questions. You know, I would think, does that make me look like I don't have enough knowledge? But the only way I'm going to get knowledge is by asking that question. So I think our installation director probably tears his hair out with me at the end of the day, because I'm asking things. There's no stupid question as far as I'm concerned. Nothing is off the table. You know, that's how you learn. Yeah,
definitely. I usually like to put it across as, rather than just saying, well, I don't know, what do you think? I'll say, this is what I think.
Yep.
Can you confirm
confirm or deny? Yeah, confirm or deny.
It's like you're trying to let them know what your thought process is, by, or at least you've gave it a go to actually think.
Did you ever get that with clients? Because I think that's so intriguing, that clients will sometimes ask me a question. Now, I like to think I'm pretty knowledgeable, in fact, very knowledgeable in my products in the industry. But there are times that clients will ask me something and I don't know the answer to it. And the respect you get from saying, I don't know, I'll come back to you on it. I'm
usually saying, like, I will say I don't know, but I usually say I know somebody that does.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then, like, recently we were working with a couple of clients who were asking different things about micro cement. And yes, I know it's popular and it's being used, but unless we are using it in our own clients' projects, we're not really coming across it. And they'd ask me specific things like, the context of it is for the floor. I know it will obviously come in an own slip, but they wanted it extra gritty. Okay. So I had to phone the guys that I know that do Venetian and say, can you make this, you know, extra, or does it just come in? And it's obviously a bespoke product. So just being able to take that back to them and be like, and I'll put a note on your design pack that you want a sample made up before it gets installed.
Thank goodness, because I thought you were going to ask me about my
but now, obviously, if I ever get asked that again,
you know you've done the
I've dealt with this
research.
before. I know. But you
hat.
don't know until it comes up, because every client asks for something different. So you become an expert in one thing working with them, and then the next client is something completely different, and you're like, right.
But the industry is so vast. Actually, that's the thing.
Important.
You're never going to know
and
everything.
there's a new material all the time that they want to use, and you're
all
like,
the time.
what's this? They say, have you heard of that? I'm like, I think I've read it somewhere.
Well, do you know what we do now? Because I think the industry's moving so fast, it's at a pace that almost you can't keep up with, because it's just saturated. So what we do now once a week with the design team is we do like a show and tell. I like to think of it as like, it's like being at school, show and tell. So what we're all responsible for, different things. So Felicity's responsible for new trends.
Right.
So she'll show you anything that's been new, anything that's releasing in the industry. Danny's responsible for appliance knowledge. So if a new appliance brand's coming out, if there's a new function on an oven, and I'm just sort of more responsible for industry news. So if we know, actually Ashley's doing an event, we maybe need to be at that, we need to be talking about that, we need to ask about that. So see, having 3 people that can tap into the industry in 3 different ways, that's invaluable.
Yeah.
And it just helps our knowledge. So when people come to the table and say, have you heard of that product? Well, actually, we have.
Yeah.
It's almost like a eureka moment, because I think Felicity told us that last week. So it works great, but you have to invest that time.
Aye.
You have to invest
I
time.
love that. I love that it's the 3 women that are doing that, and it just shows like that's something.
Well, Danny's a man. Well, you can edit that out the podcast. No, do you know the thing is, Danny is just we always call he's like a rose amongst 2 thorns. He's so, I think, working with 2 females that are super creative, he sits back and he really listens, but he's got that mindset of being so technical. So at times he might kind of pull us back and say, actually, guys,
you need that as well.
Yeah. So I think we are super creative, but me and Felicity sort of run away with ourselves on creativity.
But that's like the modern way of working in a business where you go into work. Especially like I worked from home, and that's the new trend, isn't it? But at least if you're in the office, how do you make it exciting and having something like that? Like I've not heard of anybody else.
No. Well, when you've got 3 designers, and for your business perfectly works at home, you must be able to get so much done, and that's a great model. When there's 3 designers, we need to be together. Yeah. We need to be bouncing ideas off each other, because there's nothing quite like, and even sitting chatting to you just now, there's nothing like that face-to-face interaction with someone. It's just something that maybe working from home can't do in our industry, which is great. And it sort of leads on to, I know you were going to talk about AI and stuff and your business and how that sort of...
So, see, like AI, I think it's a big question. I was at an event yesterday and they asked it as well. I'm actually getting work from AI. Because people don't know what to put in the chat.
Exactly.
And they're showing me the visual saying I've tried this but it doesn't look right. What I would say is, I know that chat is and things like that is giving people images. It's only as good as the information you're putting into it. For me, it's how am I going to use it as well?
Of course, you have to use it to your advantage.
Because instead of me spending, 4 or 5 hours making a visual, could I just do that first? But I'd probably do it more for concept rather than for to scale.
Absolutely.
For me, it's more AI on systems and actual business stuff. Like absolutely. I love it when it comes up a summary of the email instead of just a full, you know what I mean?
I'll need to check your emails and see if that's been done by AI now.
It just comes up does that in Gmail. But how do you use AI for that way? What I would say as well though, so the softwares that I use are CAD and SketchUp. SketchUp every year updates itself. We're now giving you this, what it's just done, which I am like,
is this an exciting news? Okay.
So this is honestly, I looked at it like, holy crap. So in SketchUp, there's a thing like 3D warehouse, and you can go through it. Say you typed in pendant light, and it'll come up like ones that have already been built. And then you could add a photo in, and it would find one specific. Well, not specific, but like looks like it.
Yeah, and put it in.
But see if it's still not quite there, because obviously you don't want to present the client something that's not right.
Not accurate.
Now you can put the photo in and it says generate 3D model.
See, for designers,
And
that
I'm
is
like,
groundbreaking.
No, it is
That
actually.
is groundbreaking.
You would then tweak it, like scale it down and change the colour and that. Now you can just put the photo in. So as much as AI is up and coming, the things that we're using are also improving because they don't want you to stop using their stuff.
No, that's it.
So
I think it's AI. Last week was the first week that every single design meeting I had, this has never happened before actually, every single design meeting, the people come in and said, this is what I've got on ChatGPT. And that, do you know, it got to about the fourth meeting during the week and I said to Felicity, this is absolutely insane that everyone, and it wasn't just, I think, that idea of it being younger clients, it was not.
No,
Even my older clients were using it. And it was amazing because it gave them, like you said, a great concept, you know, gave a concept, but the accuracy of it was well off.
Yeah.
Well off. There was one that had a fridge. And it was not to scale at all. And the client says to me, I really love the size of that fridge. I said, I don't have a clue where you're going to get that because it's not standard. And she said, oh, can you make the fridge? I said, absolutely not. We can't make a fridge. So it's wild that it gives you that great starter.
Yeah.
But I don't think right now it's where it needs to be for accuracy for things like our CADs as well.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just not
Like anything to do with cabinetry, like you need measurements, you don't more than a visual, you know.
Of course.
But I do think it is what you plug into it is what you get out. And it doesn't look as the space as a whole as well. Like people have said who have shown me their visuals, and it's how I've got the job because they showed me it and they're like, it's just no what
it's
I
not
think.
right.
And it's like because what's been plugged into it's maybe like show me this and like but yeah, I'll show you it, but like why did you even tell it to show you that?
Exactly.
So it doesn't go with what's over there.
Well, that's it, because I think
you're not thinking as the room as a whole.
It's only a designer that can really say, well, actually, we require a tall bank of units there for these things. It's, you know, I do think it's, at the moment it's maybe at its limit. It needs to now step up, like ChatGPTs and things, these need to step it up to be accurate, but I just don't know how the industry moves after that, because certainly from a design point of view, as it starts to get sharper, like you said, it's how much time am I going to invest? A design can take us up to a week to do, to tweak, to talk about, but if this thing can produce a visual of it within seconds, we have to get the input so right to it, because at the moment it's not.
Like you said, it can produce the visual, but it can't reach out to the supplier for you, make sure things are on time. It can't go into the showroom and sign off the colours and the schemes and that kind of stuff.
So I see it overtaking the sheds.
And work within your budget as well.
Well, that's it, because a lot of them are based on American visual, you know, the company is American, so it's based on American types of visuals and things that have already been put in. But as you said, you're doing bespoke items, I'm doing bespoke items, so how could it have thought it bases it on a blueprint that's already there of a door, but it doesn't have all the people behind the scenes. I don't know how AI would come and fit your kitchen for you. I don't know how it would survey your kitchen. I don't know how it would look at the technical aspects.
The waste pipe that's in the corner.
The waste pipe in the corner, exactly. Or even, I think it's just people. I don't think as an industry we want to oversight these people. These people are the real backbone of the industry, and I think it's important that we use AI in the right way, you know, maybe to save that bit of time on the email. I'm going to check your emails and make sure they're not ChatGPT to me.
They're not.
Okay.
They're not. It's just like when it comes in, it's got a summary of it. I use Chat. I don't really use Chat for emails and things, but I kind of just type how I speak. It's not, I don't really over-formalise my emails.
Yeah, me too.
I think I'm on the cusp of a millennial and Gen Z. So
right, I'm definitely a millennial.
I'm a 96. So
you shouldn't be having your Botox then. You're too young for your Botox.
So I'm in between. So actually, when I first started pure bypassing here, when I first started out my own, that was my big thing. Like, I don't even know how to write a professional email.
Really?
So I was just a bit like, I'll just write what I want.
Just going for it. But do you know, some clients like that authenticity as well, and just like someone that they you know, that they're just see what you get what you see. I think that's important. I think being yourself as well is super important.
And obviously we need to state the points professionally, but at the same time, an email's an email.
Well, I also
think... get it sent out in 2 minutes,
Oh no, I procrastinate over an email. I sit and rewrite it.
I used to that, now I just...
You just send it.
I just send it, yeah.
But I think it's important as well for, I think, as a business, as you said, like to remain professional, but a lot of my clients become friends.
Yeah.
It's so strange. You know, I was at a client's this morning and finished her kitchen. I did her mum and dad's kitchen. It was actually really sad. We were sort of signing off the kitchen and it was all finished. I was really sad to see her going when we were talking, and she said, oh, if you're in Glasgow, we could go for a drink. I thought, oh, great, you know, because I thought you just don't, you spend so much time with people and you really invest so much into them, and then you never see them again. It's the strangest concept. So yeah, if you can only buy a kitchen from me if you want to be my friend. So
let's start, John, because I know that the showroom is being refurbished.
It is
right now. So any hints or tips on what's been installed or what's been ripped out?
Yeah, we are the cobbler's children, I always like to say. So we like to keep our showroom updated. So we usually do 2 displays a year at the moment. We've not long finished one, and we are in the midst of the next one. And why I say we're the cobbler's children is it's so important for us to still be fitting kitchens for clients. We won't defer off of their time schedules or whatnot to fit ours. But we've been doing this one at a really quick pace. I think on our socials today, the pendant lights were going up. Next week, we sneak preview as we're doing a wine wall. So it was inspired by a project that we did last year, which was really, the client didn't want a bar area. She didn't want like a wine cabinet. She wanted a wine wall. So it's inspired by that. So I just need to source, I think, about 48 bottles of wine just now. I need to go out shopping for wine to put on the wine wall.
Yes.
We've got a lot of nice features, got sort of floating ovens in there.
Nice.
We've got complete islands clad in stone. So I think that's always really super luxury, different. We're using a brand called X-Stone, which is slightly different from the norm of Dectons. A lot of clients will know Decton and Silestone. So we're using an X-Stone brand. Looks really good. That's all I'm going to tell you about it just now, though, because I'm really hoping, well, I know soon you'll be coming to see the grand reveal
You're
of
on
it.
the tip of my tongue for
You're on the grand reveal. 40 minutes.
Yeah. So let's just talk about this.
Yeah.
We have got exciting coming up.
We do.
So next month, so this podcast will be released at the end of July. June. I don't know the date. So at the end of July, we will be co-hosting an event together at the new showroom. So this event is a night with after. We have done one previously and it's been all over socials, but this time we're bringing it to Ayrshire.
Yep.
So I just approached Joanna in
You
the showroom at JS
It was absolutely.
I just came in and I was like
cold called. Yeah, absolutely.
And I just approached you and asked a bit. But specifically, it kind of relates to everything we spoke about in the podcast. Going back to Ayrshire businesses, you know, I'm from Ayrshire. I want to do something down here.
Absolutely.
It's a panel event. We've got our lineup finalised.
We do.
I typed that myself.
I saw your email. I saw your email.
Just to get everybody on the same page. So
the panel's super exciting though, because I think having that
we
variety.
really thought about who's actually going to be on it. We've not just chucked people together. We've thought about it.
No. I think having so many mixes of people there, and I think if you're renovating a property, this is the event to be at because you're going to have an architect there. So really talking you through the structural things of what you need to think about, maybe costings, how you start a project.
Exactly.
You've then got me coming in for the kitchen design and then yourself for overall house interiors. And then we've got one of our other businesses we work in conjunction with, which is decorating, painting, and actually to have a trade and the panel's quite unusual
Yeah.
for most panels, but having someone there who comes from the trade side of things, that's going to be
that
exciting.
was very, you know, when I approached you,
Yeah.
I was like, we need the trade on as well.
You were so purposeful about
like
that.
It has to be that way, because they're our reality check.
Yeah.
Which is a bit they are, but
They are.
It's to show our relationship, and people when they're renovating don't know who to approach.
No.
As well, so by showing all of us together, it shows where you need to take advice from and how we actually work together.
And I just think as well, I'm always looking for something to go to or to do that's sort of not too late at night.
Exactly.
As I said, I'm a millennial. I want to be in my bed for 10 o'clock latest. So I think having an event that's kind of late afternoon, early evening that you can come to with your friends.
Exactly.
You know, or drag the partner along if you're really, you know, thinking about this as a new house project. Drag them in, you know, and just sit, have a wee glass of fizz and sit and listen to chat about interiors.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's such a great opportunity to come and listen to local people talking about it. And even if you're not thinking about it today,
There'll definitely be a golden nugget in there.
Exactly.
I know I'm going to take away from it just by
Definitely.
the panel as a whole.
Definitely.
And seeing us all together, and I'm so excited.
So excited. I know people always say things are exciting, but we are super excited about this, and it has really pushed us to get this display finished.
I know.
It will be the launch of the display, so it'll be really exciting. And actually the trade that is coming to speak on it, she's a painter decorator. She does a lot of work with panellings and mouldings and all that kind of thing. She is booked to come and paint my studio before the event, so I'm putting her under pressure as well. So it'll be super.
I love that we've got a female trade.
See, getting a female trade, wow. You know, it's amazing. And Natalie's actually been a kind of core part of our business in terms of referring her for, and I think clients feel comfortable with females.
Yeah,
There's something
they do.
about that.
There's a big booming.
But we do have it. We've got male architects. It's not a full female cast.
Yeah, but no, it's going to be really exciting. So if you're listening to the podcast as it's been released, you will be the first ones to hear about that. We might have the ticket set up for this if you want really early access. It will be a ticketed event. Spaces are limited. The showroom is quite big. But
it's going to be limited.
It is limited in terms of who can we all fit in through the door.
I think as well it's just so that you have the space to see everything.
Exactly.
I don't want a big crowded
event. And time
event.
to talk to us all at the end and ask your own questions. Yes, we will have the panel and we'll be directing it from what we think will help you and keep you entertained. We want it to be a night out where you can still go home at 10.
It's going to be fun. I need home at 10, so you'll need to wrap the chat up by 9. I need home.
But there's going to be an opportunity for everybody attending to ask their own questions too, and like I can guarantee there will be a takeaway or a golden nugget there.
Always is.
Yeah.
Always is.
And bringing interiors and a bit of, just a bit of oomph in the industry to Ayrshire.
Flair and fun.
And with JS Geddes, like I said, I was in the showroom. I targeted you specifically.
I know we did. We felt targeted against the wall. Actually, we were like, but I think it's we are working with other independent businesses, so I think it's just a nice fit. It just molds nicely
and
together.
The collaboration, but like we spoke a lot about who's going to be on it. So I know that you're invested in the night with me. Like,
Absolutely.
how do we make this like the best it can be for everybody? The showroom, like. With your showroom, I know that it was stunning. You've got the new display coming in, so it's that we want you to feel inspired from the front door, not just from listening to us.
And I think as well it gives people an opportunity to come to the showroom that maybe feel that they don't really want to come into our showroom, maybe just like thinking, I don't want to be backed into a corner to buy a kitchen, or well, this is the perfect opportunity because no one's going to ask you to buy a kitchen. You can come in, just have a few glasses of bubbly, as I said, have a look around the studio and listen to people who know what they're talking about, listen to people who are accoladed in the industry. I think it'll just be a great night. It's super exciting.
It will. I can't wait. So yeah, it's the 30th of July, 6 till 8. But we fizz on arrival, maybe from the wall.
Oh, definitely.
Non-alcoholic if you're a hard drinker. We'll have some good food there as well, and plenty of entertainment on the stage.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been so good to have you
So
on.
good to catch up. I
And
love this for a Friday for me.
We'll see each other again really soon. We'll be in the emails to each other over the next
I'll just
couple of
send you
weeks.
my ChatGPT email now that I know that that's the bar set, Ashley. Thanks for having us on.
No, it's been brilliant. It's been brilliant, and we'll speak again at the event. We'll probably be on socials over the next couple of weeks and few weeks marketing it. If you want to get a ticket, you can reach out to myself or Joanna.
Yep.
And we'll have the links for you.
Smash.
Amazing. Well, thanks again for joining us on the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation there. And a very special thanks again to our sponsor, the Garage Conversion Company. We'll see you in the next one.